I want to get into this ringer list because this time last year we had one Piston in it. This year we have two. So they come out with their top 100 list, and they do a really good job because they update it throughout the season. And this is kind of a playoff one. So we have Cade Cunningham, who cracked the top 25, and Jalen Duren that cracked the top 100. I don't know if you got the chance to read the full thing over, but are you kind of surprised that the Pistons have two players in the top 100 from them?
I'm not. I might be surprised at which players are in there. Like Cade Cunningham, that's not a shocker at all. I think the question with Cade isn't going to be if he's on a top 100 list. The question is going to be when is he in the top 10? I think that's the real question for someone like Cade. For me, this isn't like a slight at a Jalen Duren, but I thought like if you're looking at like our most impactful Pistons in the play, if this is based on postseason, I would maybe throw Sar in there. But I mean, if you look at Duren's improvements throughout the season and just throughout his career, like he did have an impact, especially towards down the stretch. And overall, like his postseason too, like he got better as the playoffs went as well. So when he's truly at his best, like he is one of the most impactful players on the court any given night. So for me, I'm not too shocked that the Pistons have two guys that are in the top 100. And if they want to continue to head down this path of contention, they're going to need to have three or four guys at least in the top 100. So, I think this is just a testament to the development that they've had and the level of play that they played at. Like I just, especially you just look at how good Cade was for his first playoff series. I may be more surprised he's as low as he is, but again, I just the ceiling is only up for these guys.
Yeah, when I looked at the top 100, I'll just put it on the screen. I made a graphic of the top 25 for people that haven't seen it. Cade's at 16. 15 was Kawhi, KD, 14, Anthony Davis, 13, LeBron, 12, which I was kind of surprised they had him out of the top 10. Victor Wembanyama. It doesn't look like that anymore. He's actually bald and he's a monk. If you guys haven't seen that, I was scrolling the timeline. I was like, who is that?
But, I was so hoping you saw that. So I'm really glad you said that.
Yeah, I saw it before I left my phone inside and went out and just enjoyed the nice weather today. But yeah, Cade at 16, I think he was in the 40s or I believe 50s last season. So that's a pretty big jump. I could argue he should be at Kawhi's spot, but I guess they just put Kawhi in the top 15 just to be respectful of a two-time champion. But I mean, see a lot of these younger new faces of the league in the top 10 though.
Yeah, I can't really wrap my head around why Kawhi would be above Cade, especially, just with Cade's durability and everything he brings. I guess you could say Kawhi's a better defensive player, maybe, but yeah, I think, at that point, it's just kind of pulling hairs. Kevin Durant, that's even an interesting one too. Of course, when he's healthy and he's out there, he's looking as good as anybody, but he's about to be on his third different team in in 4 years.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting dichotomy there for sure.
Yeah, it really is. No, I didn't make a graphic down for the top 100, but I will say Jalen Duren was 97th.
Yep.
Number 98 was kind of, I chuckled to see who was number 98. It was Jalen Green. And I know there's still a Jalen Green hype to this day. Jalen Green barely made the top 100 list from the Ringer, but everyone else in Cade's draft class was, I thought, properly rated and ranked. So Jalen Duren's better than Jalen Green. You heard it here first.
Yeah, you're right from the Ringer. You can see it right there. Man, they have Jalen Green right down there with Jordan Poole and Bradley Beal. That is rough. But I think with Duren, it's like it's interesting to see kind of just where they have him at and just kind of what the overall, like, to me, Duren's just kind of one of those polarizing prospects in a sense, because I think everyone sees the athleticism and everyone sees the the intangibles of like, oh, this guy has like low-key really good vision. This guy is really athletic. Like when he is at his best and when he is fully mentally engaged, he can be a really dominant presence. But I think in order for Duren to get higher on these lists, to me, and I'm not sure, like what your thoughts are, but to me, it's just he just needs to get more consistent all around, just like the approach needs to be more consistent each night. And the mental lapses just have to be at a minimum on the defensive end, as far as just, some of the cuts that are allowed, just some of the missed opportunities, fouls that are being drawn. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, you're 21, so you kind of understand like why those things are happening now. But if you want to have a big long-term contract, and if you want to have a space in this league for a long time, because he's probably looking to make like 25, 30 million a year. If I'm his agent, I'm wagering that's what he's asking for. If you want to make that type of money, you just can't have that like consistently, especially if the Pistons want to win and to get where they want to get to in this, kind of in this window. Because I think as the Pacers are in the finals right now, I think you have a lot of teams, that are young throughout the East that are looking at themselves and going, why can't we be that if we go out and make the right moves? And for the Pistons, one of the things that will inherently limit their ceiling is if Jalen Duren doesn't take those steps. So he's just, to me, he's just one of those like that's I find it really interesting that the Pistons are talking so much about looking at the big market and what they could do there and what that means for Jalen Duren and all of those things. So I'm not sure your thoughts are, but yeah, it's like that's just one of the things I am just watching like a hawk this offseason.
I think the Jalen Duren conversation is always a fun one for me because I see both sides of the fence. There's the side of the fence that just doesn't think he's good. I've talked to people on their podcast where they just don't like Jalen Duren, and that's fine. There's other people on the fence that 21, let him grow. 3 coaches, 3 years. Talked last week with my guy Motor City Hoops, and we're
Bryce
kind of
Simon, the GOAT.
yeah, Bryce Simon, love him. He was kind of talking about how like Jaden Ivey got benched under Monty, but Jalen Duren didn't, and he said that was more damaging, he thought, than Jaden Ivey getting benched because Jalen Duren was allowed to develop bad habits under Monty. And I think you saw a lot of that the first 25 games of the season where the consistency wasn't there on a night-to-night basis. Even Trajan mentioned it. He's like, yeah, the last like 40, 50 games, he stepped up his game. He even admitted that, I was kind of playing soft, wasn't playing up to my standard, which I think him working with JB, working with the assistant coaches, the big man coaches, I still think there's something there.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to be a multiple-time defensive player of the year all-star? I don't know. If he developed a jump shot, I think it would really open up his game. A good 12 to 15-foot jump shot, I think would really open his game. But I don't really know how the Pistons feel about him long-term. And I think you're right on the nose with the money. Like 25, 30 million a year is probably what he's going to get. With the cap going up every year, I mean, who's to say he can't get the same money that Nick Claxton got? Who's to say he can't get $100 million? Like, I think he could. The more I think about it, the more I see these reports. We'll talk about those in a little bit. I think the Pistons may look to just say, hey, we want to see if you can do it for one more year, and then we can have those conversations of maybe a possible extension because they're linked to a lot of guys that space the floor.
Yeah.
And Duren hasn't known to space the floor yet. Not saying he can't. He just hasn't shown the ability to knock down a 3-point shot or a good 15 to 20-foot shot. So it's going to be really interesting, Sean.
Yeah.
You read all these articles, all these reports, and it's like, what's going on with the Pistons?